Hi everybody, time for another midweek chat. I just found out that I can pause these recordings by accident. I was going to show you the seagulls over there, and then the camera fell off the stand, it got all messy, and then it was on pause. I was like, I didn't know I could do that, so that might come in handy sometime. So midweek chat, it is October 8th. It's my dad's birthday today. He would be 101 were he still alive. So that's exciting to me. Last year would have been his 100th birthday, of course. It's one of those things. He's a good guy, and Mom outlived him. Mom's still living at 95, and Dad. I think if one of them had to go first, which usually happens, that it was probably best that Dad went first. Dad's a really good guy and he had his own strengths, but I think he would have had a lot harder time surviving Mom than Mom has had surviving him. So sometimes there's some mercy in the way things turn out. But Dad was a good guy. October 8th. I always liked growing up in my family for a lot of reasons, but one of the unimportant reasons that I thought was kind of cool was there were 6 in my family. We had 2 October birthdays, 2 April birthdays, and 2 July birthdays. And so today's my dad's birthday. 4 days from now is my brother Randy's birthday. And so I kind of like the way that worked out for us. Then in the middle of the longest span, we had Christmas. So we had good celebrations scattered throughout the world, out the year, So where am I? You know where I am? Here are seagulls. I'll try to show you the seagulls when I wrap up. But the High Bridge is right there. So when I bike across the High Bridge or walk, and I look toward downstream, you see this line of, I guess they're too small to call falls, but aren't they beautiful? Like right there, it's a couple feet drop off, 3 feet maybe, 4 feet. And it's where the seagulls hang out. I don't know if it's because that's where fish are or they just like the rocky ledges. But on a beautiful day like this, clear sky, no clouds, and the sun, from the High Bridge you look down and you see the sun on the water, and you see the seagulls flying. It's just very, very beautiful. So I thought we'd go down to the source, down to the water's edge today. Before I forget, does anybody want this? These were all over the place. Look, it's got an acorn too. Isn't that nice? Parishioners, Rich and Lisa gave this to me when I was in Menominee because I was writing about how much squirrels were terrorizing me, and they were when the electricity went out because a squirrel was going along the telephone wire and tripped the thing. And anyway, that was one example. And so anyway, they gave me this squirrel. This thing's really kind of cute. But I'm trying to downsize. So if anybody wants this stuffed squirrel to brighten their day, and maybe you're a squirrel fan, let me know. Okay. So I got a bunch of Parish news, some other interesting things, right? I hope they're interesting things. So I hope you've been able to give some, the big news is the organ is coming today. We're getting an organ. We've talked about it. We've had an organ fund for 100 years. And with our remodeling of church and having the new music area, the organ's going to go in the corner. And Nick is excited. Nick, as many of you have gotten to know him, know he's a super guy, and he's a great musician, great music director, and he also can play the organ. So he's got it all. So look out. Maybe this weekend we'll hear a little organ music. Or maybe not. They're going to deliver it. Can we get it all set up and ready to blast this weekend? I don't know. So we, of course, still have our beautiful piano, and I think that'll be the mainstay of our music. But our other organ was basically worn out. And so now we'll have an organ in church. So look out. Beware. Should be great. I just met a woman. They called me to anoint her. I won't give her name for privacy, but she was an organist for years and years and years at Old St. Henry's in Old Galley, and it's precious in the eyes of the Lord is the death of his faithful ones. And I think of that often when someone's given a lot of their life energy to the church and help keep faith alive and church vibrant. When their days pass, and they're just kind of a shell of what they used to be physically, that God will carry them, all of us, I think, but something touching about people that give so much in their last days. When all seems like loss, an eternal weight of glory is waiting for them, I hope you've been able to give some prayerful consideration to the Diocesan Annual Appeal. The mailing came to your house. If you have it'd be nice if you did not get the mailing and you're registered and you're part of St. James Parish, if you let us know. Sometimes logistically they have problems in La Crosse getting the mailings out, so I hope you got it, and I hope you're able to support that, within your circumstances. So, big fire. We're gonna have a big fire, a friendly fire, campfire Saturday after Mass. It'll be the inaugural fire at the fire pit that Elliot built for his Eagle project. It's been used a couple times for religious ed nights, but this will be kind of we'll bless the pit and have some long games. It's getting darker earlier, right? So if Mass gets out at 5:30ish, then say goodbye to folks and get over to the fire pit. I'll have to try to arrange to have somebody build a fire. My friend Mark from Milwaukee came up to see the John McCutcheon concert at St. James Sunday, and he brought me a bunch of kindling, so maybe we can use that. That'll be good. But some games, and bring, if you have little weenie roasters and marshmallows or s'more things, feel free to bring it, and we'll try to have an enjoyable time together. That's this Saturday, right after Mass on Saturday. Speaking of the John McCutcheon concert, it was real good. We had a little trouble with the sound for people that were sitting on the right side of the church as you look toward the altar. One of the speakers wasn't out. People brought the speakers in. So it made it a little bit hard for some people to hear in the beginning. But he was just good. And he was fun because he's, when you give a performance, you got to be focused. So I didn't want to bother him much. But we did a little jabbering backstage. I should have taken a selfie, but maybe, I didn't want to seem like a groupie. But it would have been nice to have a selfie. Me and John McCutcheon backstage before the concert. And he was friendly to me the whole time, but then he heard I was doing the opening act one song for an opening act. And he said, I didn't know you were singing, Father. I'm like, yeah. So then we got really friendly. We started talking music. Just fascinating guy. Like, he knew John Prine, Steve Earle. I didn't have the heart to ask him about Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's kind of reclusive, though I sang a Bob Dylan song that night. But it's real good. And if I may digress, he asked me if I was related to Ann Craig. And Ann's my sister, who died in 1973 in a car accident, drunk driver. And I said, yeah, she's my sister. And he said, well, how is Ann? Because he was a year ahead of her in high school, same high school, Wausau Newman. And I said, well, she died in a car accident a long time ago. That's why I'm so sorry to hear that. And maybe I should have let it go, but I said, I remember seeing you in the 80s. And you can't keep track of everything. I fully understand that. But I saw you in the 80s in concert in Seattle, and I talked to you, and right away you said, are you related to Ann? And I said, yeah. She said, well, it's so sad what happened to her. So, that had been in his memory and in his heart, and then he kind of forgot about that. But he's very kind about it in any event. We talk about music, this and that. I'm still waiting for a text. He got my phone number and wanted to text me something, but I fear he lost it, and I didn't get his. So, but here's the digression, which I think is kind of important, about dementia and grief. And I'm no expert here, but I might have mentioned that my mother's got dementia. She's in a memory care place. At Memorial Day, I took her to the cemetery where Ann is buried and my dad is buried. And she was genuinely confused. Like, I go, yeah, that's Anne's grave. You know, she died, remember? And she didn't. And she was just kind of on the edge of trying to make sense of the fact that her daughter, she remembered Anne, but not that she died. And it was 50 years ago, 52 years ago. And well, I didn't want to throw her into that ocean of grief. And yet, if there's, I think it can be helpful to to process. And so I didn't push it. But then this time we were out for breakfast. I said John McCutcheon came to St. James to play a concert, and he asked me at the intermission if I was related to Anne. And then we talked a little bit, and she said, without any prompting, she just said, "Did he know that Anne died?" And I was like, "No, actually he didn't. I think he used to know that, but he had forgotten. So he was sad to hear that news." And she goes, "Oh." And then she goes, "Well, how did Anne die again?" And so the car accident, drunk driver hit her, and so that's too bad. Then she would ask those things again with her forgetfulness. Did he know that Anne died? How did she die again? Oh. And we talked about Anne at Lawrence University, where she was on the way with the car accident. Anyway, we talked a lot about Anne and her life growing up, and that it was sad that she died. And you could tell she was kind of sad. I didn't want to, like I say, throw her into that ocean of grief, but I don't think we grieved really well as a family back in 1973. And I don't think the children were I was 9, I was the youngest. There wasn't a lot of physical closeness. Like when you grieve, sometimes you just want to be held, right? And the words, so we worry so much about what to say. I think it's more, can I be present, And another person feels safe in my presence, even if we don't say anything. So anyway, we were in a booth, and I just went over and I sat next to her instead of across from her as we were remembering Anne and talking about that she died. And I just, that physical closeness being there, and I held her hand at one point. And I think it was good. I'm careful because I know it was good for me, but I don't want to do something that makes her needlessly sad, right? But if it's kind of a sad, and our souls hold grief, I think, our bodies hold grief, and to be able to remember death and loss with someone you love when there's a death in the family, I just think, anyway, I was really, it was kind of a holy 15 minutes or so, I think, that we shared there, so I was really grateful for that. So any of you guys struggle with grief in your families, and can't push it. I think that was part of the problem. I think back then she kind of tried to push it to make us talk about it, and we didn't want to, and so we weren't really there for her. So anyway, I think you get the idea. It was just really kind of sad but lovely. Yeah, and I told her, I remember you used to, whenever I had a test coming up, you'd say, well, I'll say a prayer to you. I'll say a prayer to Anne for you. I said, thanks. So her absence was very present in our lives. We trusted that she was with God in heaven, which was a great comfort. So, anyway, moving on. John McCutcheon. October 18th, Saturday, next trivia. So it's not this Saturday, but next. Come as you are. What I forgot to emphasize was just come by yourself if you want. You don't have to have a team. In fact, Beth is thinking. She's just thinking. Don't let this scare you away. But maybe passing out cards to make more random assignments, so it's not like just people that know each other are on the same team. So, I don't know. We'll do that or not. Because some people want to be with people they know, and we understand that. But something about once a month. The next one's October 18th. Movie night went well about St. Francis. It wasn't really well. A lot of people attended, but we was a quality group. And we watched a one-man stage play called what was it called? It was called Francis, Troubadour of Peace, or St. Francis, Troubadour of God's Peace. It was good. It was only 55 minutes. The day was getting long. We had a 4:30 mass, then we had outdoor mass, and then we had the movie. So Anyway, I think people that came thought it was good. But if you want to look it up, it's on YouTube. It's just 55 minutes. There is what? Did I say something about St. Francis? We had our pet blessings, movie night. So it was really cold last night. And so I hope you brought your garden things in or covered them up. I covered up my tomatoes, but I cut down all my basil. Because, even when it's low 40s, it seems like the basil can get burned, frostbite, and die. So I had a little of that already. So I remembered to do that. There's a crow. You see that? There's a crow. And so I'm going to make pesto tonight. The leaves should still be good. I didn't have the energy to do it last night after I cut down the stalks. But I got the pine nuts, I got the basil, I got the garlic, I got the lemon, I got the olive oil, Bethlehem olive oil. And I think that's all, and the Parmesan cheese. And that's my little recipe. Regis Schools is making a recipe book, and I included. I'm going to give them 2 of my recipes. That's one of them. Does anybody have their own recipe though? I mean, it's recipes I got from the internet, so I feel like bad passing it off. So I don't exactly copy it word for word, but what are you going to do? Maybe people have grandma's old pesto recipe, but so. And then a granola recipe that I like. I just from memory, So I got a whole list of. So, anyways, I was thinking of that James Taylor song. It's Frost is on the pumpkin, and the hay is in the barn. And around drunk down. The Walking Man. It's from the song Walking Man, James Taylor's greatest hits. Love that album. So. Baby bottle. You heard the announcements last week. So pro-life rosary month is October. Also Respect Life Month. A dimension of respecting life is, of course, respecting unborn life, and that is something we support in part by collecting money for Apple Pregnancy Center in town. That is a resource for people wanting to bring their unborn children to birth. So we have little baby bottles. You can pick one up and fill it with quarters and bring it back. But you got to bring it back by November. It should say on the baby. You can't bring it back, I know, after November 26th. That's probably the deadline. If I'm wrong. Okay. World Mission Sunday is coming up, so there'll be envelopes in the pews if you want to support the missions. I know we had a mission appeal. See, there's World Mission Sunday. We have it every year. There's also the mission appeal, where a specific missionary comes and asks for. So we had, I was gone, so I didn't hear it, but Father Emmanuel, I think, came up from Durand and promoted his missions in the diocese in the country of Ghana, Africa. So that was specific. This is like World Mission Sunday that supports missions throughout the world, I guess. Healing Mass is coming up a week from tomorrow. It'll be Wednesday, a week from today. Thursday morning, October 15th, the Feast of St. Teresa of Avila. So, that'll be good. Blood drive is this coming Monday, so that would be the 13th of October at St. James. You can call Anne and sign up for that, or I think you can through the website too. Been busy calling and setting up Holy Land orders. Thanks to Gail and Sharon and Rita for helping me with that. So ordered all kinds of stuff. So hopefully, I know it's things that we've sold every year. So I already have one of those. But there are a lot of interesting olive wood carvings that I'm going to get from Alfred, who has a gift shop that has no business now because nobody's coming to Jerusalem. And a few special new items. I'm getting one jumbo. I'll just buy it if nobody else wants it. But I'm getting a jumbo. Those grottos made of felted wool that the people with intellectual disabilities at the L'Arche Committee in Bethlehem make. I'm getting a jumbo one, and it says 400 shekels, so that would be like 104 shekels is like $1.50, so it'd probably be like $125 or something. But it's pretty exciting And then a lot of olive wood carving, some a little more finely. There's Jesus washing the feet of someone. That's like, that'll be like $90. Got the big carved crosses. There's less expensive olive wood carved things. The most expensive one was Jesus washing the feet. So some of that coming, some beautiful glass, a lot of ceramics. And we'll get that out before Thanksgiving, God willing, right? And Sister Julia, one of the people I can only pay by sending money to Sister Julia, because his bank always rejects my wires in Jerusalem too. And she said very humbly, says, I can do it. If you send me the money, I can get it out of my account, and then I can go into Jerusalem and give it to him. She said, well, would you mind, if you could, adding some extra? I have some women that I serve, and they're running out of medicine. She serves the Bedouin community around Bethlehem. And I said, sure, of course. So there's a lot of need over there. We pray for peace. We pray that this peace accord not only ends the war, but maybe is a pathway to a longer lasting peace. We'll see. In any event, I do have to cancel the Holy Land trip for February, late January, February. I didn't do it yet. I had till October 25th. Even if we see the headlines tomorrow, peace has come. If I was just going with my family or something, I would still, I think it'd be okay. But just not a time to take a good group. Plus, I just don't have the numbers. People, I think rightly so, are cautious. They don't want to go. So I have 4 people that really would still like to go, but 4 is not enough. And it's good. We'll go another time. So, but in the meantime, I'm planning this. You can't see that. Can you see it? No. And you can't see that. It's a trip to Portugal and Spain. I've often thought, boy, I'd like to go to see the tomb of St. James the Greater, our patron saint. And millions of people walk there on the Camino de Santiago de Compostela, but we wouldn't walk there. We'd take a bus there. I assume most people wouldn't be up for walking 100 miles. Some would, and then maybe you'd like to wait for a time when you can walk. But this would be a bus thing. We'd land in Lisbon, go up north. On the way, there's Fatima, where I would like to read more about that before we go. Marian apparition in Fatima, the 3 shepherd children. And then make our way up for like 3 days in the Santiago de Compostela area. And then head down toward Madrid, where we'd fly home. It's a 9-day trip with travel, so a good solid week of traveling and seeing things. I'm not organizing it as I do the Holy Land trips, and so we're paying a group to do it, and so that adds to the cost. So it's actually not that, even though it's shorter and closer to the U.S. than the Holy Land, it's almost as expensive as our Holy Land trips. So it's about the first quote I got, plus I'd have to add the cost of a shuttle to get us to O'Hare. But it'd be about $5,000. So, if it's something you'd like to see, Tomb of St. James, I just thought we'd offer that. Maybe a lot of people jump at it, maybe not. Cancel that, and that's okay. So, I'll get out more details. I don't have the exact cost, and I don't have the exact dates. But I think the dates would be maybe like a Tuesday through a Wednesday, maybe like April 22nd to April 30th, something like that, or going into early May. But between our first communion and our confirmation time that I would do that. So, okay, so that's interesting. Big news. Oregon's the biggest news. Here it is. Okay. Now what could I be missing? I told you I'm going to make pesto tonight, right? Hope you're doing okay. Lots going on in the world that is difficult. Politics are just so hard right now, and I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about it. It just seems like there's this I don't know. All this retribution that's going on just seems so hard for me to swallow. I guess in milder forms it takes place all the time, but kind of focusing on the good things. I hope that peace comes to the Holy Land. That'd be great. Here's a fun story. The Atacama Desert. You know where it is? Chile. And it's like the driest desert in the world. They usually get 0.08 inches of rain. 0.08 inches of rain. Last year they got 2.3. So guess what? There's flowers everywhere. So under this arid, dry desert, driest in the world, there are flower seeds lying dormant. And it said usually they need 0.6 to hold 0.6 inches of water. And that'll be enough to have those dormant seeds germinate and bloom. Well, this year they got even more than that, right? So I guess there's just these flowers all over the place, and they're incredible, like 300 varieties. They interviewed a woman who said she took her 2 children, they drove 6 hours to see it, because it's such a rare occurrence and a beautiful occurrence. And of course, biblically, it's a great image. We hear that at Advent. Desert will bloom. The desert will bloom. It's a sign of the Messiah, or like God's promises will be fulfilled, just like the desert will bloom. So, desert and wasteland will bloom. Desert and wasteland will bloom. Na, 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 na. Desert and wasteland will bloom. So that's happening. And, I don't know where you're at with your life. If you feel like you're blooming, that'd be great. It's good to feel like we're living the life that God gave us to live well, and loving our neighbor well, and honoring God, and enjoying a beautiful day like today. I guess I feel like I'm blooming in my life, attached to such a beautiful community of faith at St. James, and a lot of good things happening. Because that time with my mother at breakfast this week was very much of a blooming flower for me, even though it was sad. And but maybe you're on the other end, and I've been there too. Where you're feeling a little arid or dry, and you haven't seen anything bloom in years. And then it's a trust. Remember, increase our faith. It's a trust that lying in your heart are seeds dormant, waiting to bloom, and we can't necessarily control that, like these desert flowers. So we just try to keep doing the good, keep belief in our heart, keep open to friendship with Christ, trust in His love for us, know that He felt abandoned and dry, and why have you forsaken me Himself? And He is with us. And so we wait. At the same time, there are things that we can maybe do, since it's kind of like watering the seeds in our hearts. Sometimes it's out of our control. Sometimes maybe we can, pray more, but maybe how we pray makes a difference. Sometimes I think people freeze up a little bit because maybe they're angry or resentful about something, and they're afraid to express that in their prayer, so it stays a little locked up. So really, expressing anger in prayer can be something that frees us to know the love of God, to bloom a bit. Sometimes a good cry with the Lord can help. Like my mom often said, sometimes just going out and doing something good for someone else. So whenever I feel sad, I get up and I do something good for someone else, and it helps me a lot. So I hope you find ways to keep the faith in times of dryness and difficulty in the desert. But I hope that those wildflowers bloom for you, and to see the glory of love alive in your heart, and love that you can make happen for others. So, hey, God bless everybody. Take in this beautiful scene here for a second. The seagulls weren't flying, but I can show you where they are. See them? See that little line of white? It might be kind of hard. But in any event, God bless you, everybody. See ya.